168 hours in the week, and how you use those 168 hours on a ongoing and repeatable basis is generally going to determine your success.
I can see the whole wide world with these two eyes, and I can be whoever I want to be, 'cause it's my life.
Hi, thanks for joining us for another episode of Ask Spurrell CPA. Today, as the Edmonton Business Coach, we're talking about how all customers are not good customers. So again, as the Edmonton Business Coach, we're talking about how all customers are not good customers. I have Michael here with me today. So Michael, have you encountered any not so good customers in previous jobs that you've had?
A lot, actually.
A lot. A lot. Some people are scared to say it. It's supposed to be, the customer is always right, and we always want to do, what we can to help the customer. But sometimes, it's just the wrong fit. It's just not the right customer. So, the quote that I have here, it's Jim Collins' quote. Author of 6 business books, including one of my favorite, Good to Great. And it says, the good to great companies did not focus principally on what to do to become great. They focused equally on what not to do and what to stop doing entirely. And sometimes what you have to stop doing are focusing on bad customers. Industry Canada will tell us that only 54% of all businesses, 54% of all businesses will never grow beyond 4 employees. So they're somewhere between 1 and 4, solopreneur or husband and wife team, maybe one assistant. They never crack that code of getting over the top. And it's my experience that business owners, they're wasting a significant amount of time on customers and projects that are simply not scalable, that they're going to really interfere with their growth. So, Michael, what are the questions that these business owners should be asking?
Why is 168 the most important number in business?
So we keep coming back to it. I always come back to it. 168. You only have 168 hours in the week. Whether you have no money to start your business or $1 million to start your business, you still only have 168 hours in the week. And how you use those 168 hours on a ongoing and repeatable basis is generally going to determine your success in your business.
Will entrepreneurs normally have marketable skills outside of their core services?
Yeah, so a lot of times, most entrepreneurs, they're highly intelligent, highly driven. They like researching things, they like learning, they're lifelong learners, and a lot of times they'll have their skill set will be bigger than their product offering. So they'll be able to do more services than they're actually offering as their core products and services with their teams.
Should you try to monetize skills that you can't train other people to help you with?
I don't believe you should, and especially if you're going to do so, you should do so with extreme caution. So if you have skills, and the only way to monetize those skills is to do it yourself, and you can't leverage a team, to deliver those skills. Now you're verging on you're just working. You have a job. You don't have a business. That's not something that you can actually ever build. So most entrepreneurs, and it's challenging because they really do have skills, and often those skills are the clients need them. But if you can't figure out how to leverage them with a team and do it at a bigger scale, chances are you should be either not do it or be extremely cautious of doing it, because it'll take away significant amounts of time from your core business.
Will you have to tell good customers no if their request is not your core services?
Yeah, so we talked about not all customers are good customers, and we're immediately insinuating that sometimes it's just about bad customers, difficult people, but sometimes it's really good people, and they just need something that's not in your wheelhouse. That can completely grind your business to a halt. And even though you could do it, and maybe even you can do it at a high level, if you can't do it at any sort of scale, again, you're going towards just having a job. Whether you're operating it through a business or not is irrelevant if you're the only one on the team who can do it or do any part of that project. That might not be the best customer, even if they're a good person. They get along with them well, they pay their bills, they're easy to deal with. If they want something that's outside of your core service, even if you know how to do it, but your team doesn't, you have to proceed with extreme caution.
Should you be okay with labeling some customers as bad customers?
Yeah, here it is. And people say, customer is always right. The customer is always right. And, we want to do what we can. We have to, be real honest with ourselves. We have to take those hard discussions at business owners and realize, we are not perfect. We can always improve. But at the same time, some people will never be satisfied with your product or service. Some of them will just never be, as hard as you try, they will never be satisfied, or they will never be satisfied if, for a reasonable value. They're not going to pay a reasonable fee for what they're asking. And that's a realistic thing that you have to face as business owners. Once you've had that conversation with yourself, assume it's yourself first. You have to assume it's yourself first. What can we do better? What can we do better next time? What can I do better next time? But once you've had that, sometimes you're going to arrive at the conclusion that, this works for 8 out of 10 people. It just doesn't work for this guy.
Mm-hmm. Do bad customers have common traits?
They do. Some of these bad customers will have very common traits, and you'll start to see them over and over again. You'll never be able to, at least I've never been able to 100% of the time recognize bad customers, but I've started to realize that there are some common traits that when I see them, it's probably indicative of that person is going to be a bad customer, especially if you see the behavior over and over again.
Will bad customers send aggressive emails and often be unavailable to discuss?
Yeah, bad customers will do that. A lot of times, here's what it is. They'll send a really aggressive email or text message, and all of a sudden it's super aggressive. The world is ending. You're responsible for their world ending, or someone else is responsible for the world ending, but they're always in a state of crisis. And then when you try to call them to have a discussion, to have a back and forth discussion efficiently on how to problem solve that and work through the issue, they're not available, or they're too busy to have that discussion. They can't wait to get off the phone. They took the time to write a 2-page email, but the minute you call them up, all of a sudden they have zero time anymore. So they have the 3 hours that they put together to write the dissertation of the world ending. But the minute someone wants to actually help them solve the problem, they're either not available to answer their phone, or they're so terse on the phone that you can't even really work through the issue with them. That's one of them for sure.
Will bad customers always be looking for ways to not pay you or pay you less?
Yeah, that will happen. Believe it or not, that's who they are. They will always come to you, and they're always trying to grind that price lower. They're always trying to grind that price lower. Or when it comes time to pay the bill, there's always a reason why they either can't pay, or they want to delay the payment. People who do that, they're not diligent doers. So a lot of times they're struggling in their own business or their own life because they're just not hitting objectives that other people have with them in their life, and they're not hitting goals. Unfortunately, those two things are tied, and these people will always be in a state of chaos. I mean, that's really what it is. They're always in that state of emergency that we find. They're always in a panic. They're always in an emergency. When it comes time to pay, there's a one-time crisis that happened. They can't, they're delaying payment this month, but next month there's a new crisis all over again. It's always, that same cycle, that death spiral, if you will. And usually, when you talk to them, it's always someone else's fault, not their own.
Is it okay to put up with bad customers while you are looking for better ones?
That can be okay. Yeah, so sometimes you're starting, especially when you're starting out a business and you don't have anyone else, and you got that customer on the line, and you start to see these traits that they're a bad customer, but you can work with them. The payment type one can be one where if they stop paying you, stop working. But let's say they're aggressive or that state of emergency. It's okay. You can use your professional judgment, and sometimes the answer is to stick with them. You don't have to fire them on principle. You can fire them as a customer when it's good for you as a business owner. not necessarily because of a principle. Maybe your goal is to get better customers, but at the same time, you can fire them as it's good for you.
Should you let bad customers interfere with your marketing and growth initiatives?
There's the kicker. So it's okay to keep these bad customers on, but you cannot keep these customers on if they're interfering with your marketing and growth initiatives. Let's make this really real for somebody. So let's say you have it blocked out in your calendar that you're doing your marketing initiative, you're doing the content for your website, you're doing your outbound call strategy on Mondays, and this customer continually tells you that you had an agreement at time, and all of a sudden they need you to be there Monday or the sky is going to fall on them. That's when you have to fire that customer, and you have to fire them now, because those difficult customers, they will never pay your mortgage next month. They will never feed your kids next month. If you need it, they're only going to do what's right for them. So it's okay to stick with those bad customers, when you're looking for business at the beginning, as long as it's not doing so with sacrificing your growth initiatives. The things that are going to bring new and better customers into the business. Because if not, you're just going to spend all your days working for these bad customers, and those bad customers are effectively not going to be customers. They're going to be your boss then. And you're going to have multiple. You won't just have one of these bad bosses. You'll have multiple of these customers. That's just the way it is. And the only way to truly eradicate it is to actually work on these marketing and growth initiatives, so you have options. So you can choose not to do business. But if you sacrifice those marketing and growth initiatives, that tends to be the death spiral for sure. So it's the one that we want you to avoid, so you can work towards better customers and more profitable relationships, more win-win solutions with better people. So that's what we have here today. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, please hit the like and subscribe button so we can continue to deliver you tips on how to beat the odds at business. And as always, please feel free to leave any comments below so we can respond back and use your input for future videos. Thanks very much.